So I've been thinking a lot lately. I think we spend so much of our lives trying to get somewhere. So, like when we're young, we're just trying to get through school. I'm a teacher and I see it in the kids all the time. Like they just see this finish line of getting through school and then trying to get that career, that job, and then finding your partner and then getting married. So these endpoints, having kids and then raising them, like getting them to graduate and they're out of the house and trying to keep everybody healthy and happy and all the things, or trying to keep the house clean, working, 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 going, going, going. But all that going, and then one day you look up and you're at midlife, and then you think, "Where am I going now?" I don't know if you've ever had that moment, but I definitely have. And I don't like mean my life is bad. That's not what I'm talking about. I just mean you just feel like you're always in this race to get somewhere. And then there's this moment where I realized that so much of my life had been about doing what I needed to do and that I didn't stop to ask myself what I actually wanted, which is kind of strange, especially when you're a woman who's spent most of her life being responsible. And I feel like responsible feels good. I'm good at that. I know what I'm supposed to do and I'm getting it done and I'm accomplishing things. People need me. You know what you're supposed to do. But then life starts changing. And suddenly all those things that gave us identity, like I am a mother, I'm a teacher, they're not the same anymore because like, our kids grow up and our careers change and our bodies change and sometimes our relationships change. And then your parents get older, and that's a whole thing. And then you're standing there thinking, okay, who am I now if I'm not responsible for all these other things? So I've had to ask myself that question more than once, and I'm still asking it. And I think one of the things that I want to be honest about is I don't have this figured out. It's not like I'm sitting here because I have arrived at some magical place where everything's perfect. Hardly. Oh my gosh. No, I'm sitting here because I'm living it. And maybe that's what makes this conversation worth having. So I've shared some of my story out there through videos and writing. I've talked about hard things I've lived through and some trauma. I've talked about divorce, ugh, ick. And I've talked about addiction, getting sober, and about my health and trying to live better and losing weight and changing the way I live. I've talked about growing older and the messy middle of midlife and about becoming an empty nester and watching my kids grow up and go away and live their lives and this beautiful, amazing, wonderful thing being a grandmother. It really is the best. And talking about finding love again. And sometimes I feel like when we tell our stories, it comes across like, oh, look how neat my life is. But life isn't actually like that, at least not for me. There's a lot of messy middle in there. There's a lot of waking up one morning and thinking, okay, I'm going to do better today. And then having a really hard day and it doesn't go better. There's a lot of taking one step forward and realizing, damn, I still got some work to do. So there's a lot of that. And that's what I want to talk about. Not fixing our lives, but becoming more comfortable with the life we're living and not being lazy. No, just appreciating. So at 40, I was going through a really terrible divorce and I felt old then, which is funny, but I look back and I think 40 at the time, I really felt like there was something wrong with me or my life was over or I was just like facing this bitter ending and that I had missed my chance. I had screwed up my life. I was supposed to have it all figured out. And then I was starting over again. But then something happened after I kind of got through that mess. I met someone and he became my best friend and eventually my husband. And that relationship taught me something that I had never really known before. Things don't go according to the way we have planned, like I couldn't have planned that chapter and I couldn't have realized that I had to live through these horrible, icky relationships and then find something incredible afterwards. And I couldn't have looked at myself at 30 and said, don't worry, girl, you're going to meet this person later in life because I had no idea. And so you're probably looking at some part of your life right now and thinking, it's too late. It's over. I screwed up. My life is a mess. Girl, I know that feeling, but you don't know what's coming. None of us do. And maybe that's a good thing. I think one of the hardest things about getting older is realizing that some things really are over. There are things that we don't get back, like our kids, aren't little anymore. And I love the women that they've become. I do. I'm so proud of them and I love them so much. But there are moments when I I would give anything just to have one of those ordinary days back. You know what I mean? Like I don't mean some special day with some big event. I just mean like an ordinary Tuesday. And your kids walk into the kitchen while you're busy doing something. Maybe they're asking you for something or telling you some crazy story, and you're just there and probably half listening because you're cooking dinner or something or washing dishes or, who knows what, right? Trying to get somewhere. But then one day they're all grown up and you realize those ordinary moments were the extraordinary moments. And I think about that a lot, like, because I'm learning that we can't wait for this big life or this big trip or this big accomplishment or this perfect body or even the next chapter. I gotta pay attention to what's happening right now and enjoy this moment. That's harder than it sounds because I spent a lot of years believing if I could just get everything together and get my life under control, then I could relax. If I can just get through this week. Then I'll rest. Or I can get just through this school year. Then then I can slow down. Or I'll get through this family crisis or this health issue or I'll finally lose that weight or I'll finally get everything organized and then I can feel good. But there's always something else. There's always another thing, another event, another crisis, another fire to be put out, another responsibility, another problem, or another person who needs something from me. And at some point, I just had to realize that waiting for life to become easy wasn't going to happen. It never will. So then I started asking myself a different question. How can I be here for my own life while it's happening? I think that's a better question. So there was a time in my life when I definitely was not taking good care of myself. And I'm not saying that to beat myself up. I understand why. I was surviving and coping with circumstances of my life as we do. And I was doing the things that I knew how to do to ease myself, to solve my problems. And eventually, I made better choices, like getting sober. July 11th, 2022. That date absolutely changed my life. It's such a special date to me. And getting sober was not trying to become some disciplined, woman who had it all together. It was really about me taking the reins and getting honest with myself, like really honest about what wasn't working. You know, it it was a mess. And then just making one decision at a time, like one day at a time, and then another decision. And that's really how so much change happens, right? Just one day at a time. We want transformation to be this big, huge, epic thing. Sometimes it is. Sometimes it's kind of ordinary. It's just waking up the next morning and making a better choice and then doing it again and then doing it again. And then one day you look back and you realize, I've become someone different. And it didn't happen overnight. It just happened one moment at a time, one day at a time. And I learned that about my body too. I changed the way I eat, and that's a whole mental thing, right? So I changed the way I move. I learned to pay attention mostly to how I feel. How do I feel? But here's something I don't think we talk about enough. You can change your body. You can lose some weight, and you still have to learn how to love the woman living inside of that body because losing weight doesn't magically erase insecurities, doesn't fix our problems. Getting healthier doesn't suddenly make you immune to comparing yourself to everyone else. And getting older doesn't make you stop having moments where you look in the mirror and wonder, who is that? I've had a lot of those moments. I'm like, who am I looking at? And I had to learn to look at myself differently. I can't look at myself with the eyes of my 25-year-old self. If I look in the mirror and expect that, that's crazy town. But I can look with the eyes of a woman who knows what this body has carried, what it's been through, and what it's gotten me through in those really hard days. Because let me tell you, girl, it has carried me through motherhood, grief, crazy work, illness, stress, but also joy, and through this amazing life. And I don't want to spend the rest of my years fighting my body because it doesn't look like it did when I was 25. I want to live in it. I want to feel good in it. I want to appreciate it. That's different. And I also figured out that healing doesn't mean nothing in my body hurts anymore. So, yes, I'm healthy, but that's another thing we don't talk about enough. You can heal. You still have hard days. You can forgive somebody in your life who's done something to you and still remember what happened. You can move forward in your life and still occasionally look backward. You can be happy and still grieve. You can be grateful for your life, but still want something to change. Two things can be true at the same time. And I think that's one of the gifts about getting older. You stop needing everything to just be like one thing. It can be complicated. It's okay. You can love someone and need boundaries from them. And you can be strong and still ask for help. You can be so happy and still have a bad day. And you can be so proud of yourself and still feel like, you know what, I got some work to do. And you can be grateful for your life and still dream about doing something different. That's being human. And it's kind of awesome. So, if I'm being completely honest, I honestly think that's why I created Live Better. It wasn't because I had it all figured out. Please, I don't have any secrets. I don't have it figured out. I think it came from realizing how much I just wanted to have conversations like this with other women and have other women not feel so alone. Like real conversations. The kind where we don't need to pretend. We can just say, I'm struggling. And then this other woman that's listening isn't trying to fix it for us. She's just like, girl, me too. And let's talk about it. Real talk. That's what I want Live Better to be. I want it to be a place where women can just talk about the things that we're actually living, not just the pretty parts. I mean, the messy parts and the funny parts, right? And the embarrassing parts and the parts nobody prepared us for, nobody talked about, and all those things that happen when your children grow up and leave home, and the things that happen when your body changes. And when you realize that you're not willing to tolerate the same things anymore, and the things that happen to us when we finally start choosing ourselves. I think that's where I'm at right now. I feel like I'm learning how to choose myself without feeling guilty about it. Oh, that's been a hard hurdle for me to jump through. So, not instead of the people I love, but alongside them. And I really feel like that's an important distinction because for a long time, I thought taking care of myself meant that I had to leave somebody else out or not care for someone else. And it doesn't mean that. Sometimes taking care of yourself makes you better. So if I'm taking care of myself, I'm a better wife. I'm a better mother. I'm a better grandmother. I'm a better teacher. I'm a better friend. I'm a better version of myself because then we're not running on empty. We're present. So just recently, I was outside with my husband and I just stopped. We were like near the house and it was dusk and I looked up and there was this beautiful view. It was so gorgeous. You know, it's just one of those moments where the lights in the sky and just the colors and oh, it was just breathtaking. And I just stopped and took a moment and then I took a picture. And then afterward, I thought, how many times have I just walked right past something just beautiful like this because I've been so busy thinking about what I need to do next and I haven't actually looked at what's right in front of me in my life. These little tiny ordinary moments. That's our life. It's happening while we're worrying about getting something else done. And it's happening while we're thinking about the future or we're worrying about the past. And if we're doing that, then we're missing it. And I don't want to miss it anymore. And I don't want you to miss it either. So if you were sitting across from me right now and you told me, Juliet, I feel lost. I'm not going to sit here and tell you what to do, but I probably would sit there with you and say, I know what you mean. And then I would tell you, you aren't required to know exactly who you're becoming, and you don't have to do this big old plan for your life, and you don't have to reinvent yourself. It's okay. You don't have to become some extraordinary new version of you. You can just start with paying attention to the woman that you are and just get quiet and listen because she's probably been trying to get your attention for a long time. I know when I get quiet, I hear things and I'm like, okay. So just stop for a moment and think about everything that you have survived. Think about the woman you were when you were younger. Could she have imagined everything you've experienced? Oh my gosh, she didn't know what was coming, but you kept going and now you're here. You made it. So we should give ourselves more credit for all that we've been through. And not because surviving is the only thing we're supposed to do. Obviously, there's more to life than surviving. I hope so, right? But because surviving gave us a chance to get here. This strange, beautiful, complicated part where we're trying to decide what matters to us now and not what mattered at 25 or 35, not what everyone else thinks should matter. What matters to you now? That's the question I'm asking myself. And maybe you can sit with it too. I don't know what your answer is going to be. Mine keeps changing, and I'm okay with that. I don't think changing so much as evolving, and that's what we're supposed to do. Evolve. We're not supposed to stay frozen in time and this version of ourselves that existed 20 or 30 years ago. Whew, we're allowed to grow. We're supposed to. We're allowed to change our minds and do something different, want something different, start something new. We're allowed to rest, and we're allowed to say no, and we're allowed to say yes. We're allowed to be happy about getting older and just embrace it. I've heard all these women say they're avoiding their aging. Once you embrace it, is so freeing. We're allowed to enjoy it. So, my friend, if you're watching this, and you're in that awkward, strange place where you're looking at your life and you're wondering what the heck comes next, I don't want you to panic. You don't need to solve it tonight. Just sit with yourself, get quiet, take a walk, go outside, maybe write something down, maybe call somebody you know that you trust, have a laugh or cry or whatever you need, or maybe meditate or pray or whatever you do. Just quiet with yourself and just listen, and then pay attention to the little things in your life, the little things that come up, the things that make you feel like yourself, because sometimes your next chapter doesn't announce itself. Sometimes it whispers. It's like little tiny ideas that keep just popping up or presenting themselves, and you're like, could be a feeling that you can't quite explain, or sometimes it's a realization. I have some of those. You're like, oh my gosh, I just had this epiphany. Maybe you don't want to spend another 10 years living the way that you've been living. That's enough. You don't have to have a whole roadmap to what's happening next, just one step. So that's what I'm learning. I don't need to become a completely different woman. I'm not gonna. I want to become more fully the woman I've been underneath of all these roles I've been playing, underneath fear, underneath the years of trying to get everything right and figured out and get control of my life. So, friend, I'm so glad you're here. I'm glad we get some of these things figured out together, because I don't think living better means finally getting our life perfect. I think that it means being awake enough to notice the life that we're actually living right now and just appreciating it, and the people that we love and the moments that we're having, and taking care of ourselves and telling the truth and talking and keep growing and forgiving ourselves for things that we didn't know or things we had to survive, and remembering that older doesn't mean that our story is getting smaller. I feel like it's actually getting bigger and deeper and more honest and more hours and more full. Gosh, it's so exciting. Don't rush it. Look around. Take it in. Girl, you have come a long way, and there's still a long road ahead. So take a breath, look around, and notice your life. And remember, you're still becoming. That's beautiful. And definitely live better, my friend.